I know there are many ways to define or to give a description of leadership, and each of them is right and wrong at the same time. From my perspective, leadership is something that you have by yourself that you can develop throughout your business career. I remember I had one of my previous boss, he was from Spain, and he was not talking Italian very easily, and he was repeating to me, Enrico, please remember yourself that the leader has to liderare, deve liderare, which was a fantastic way to translate in Italian the word leadership. In his way was, you have to be able to be the reference point of your team, giving them direction, giving them the possibility to express themselves in order to deliver. I think that being a leader and leadership is exactly about delivering. Well, I believe it's a combination of, definitively you can develop your leadership. Definitely you need to have a little bit of leadership in your behavior. And so a person completely without leadership will probably have difficulties to become a good leader. But having some leadership is not enough. From my perspective, especially at the very beginning of the career, the leadership is not only because of your behavior, of your capability to deliver your message, but is a lot about your knowledge about what you're doing. You need to be an expert. You need to develop your capability to be recognized as the reference points of that particular activities. Then, whenever you develop your responsibilities, you cannot be an expert of everything, and then your managerial capabilities, connected to the capability to run the people, is becoming more important. So, yes, it's something you can develop. As I was saying before, at the beginning of my career, I invested a lot in becoming an expert of what I was doing. So having a deep knowledge of all the elements of my activities. Nowadays, where I have to manage a group of people, I tend to believe that my managerial and leadership approach is more dedicated to the participation. So the way I run the relation with my peers or my colleagues or the people I'm working with is to try to be as much as possible clear about the direction. They all have what is the objective of our activities. And every year, at the beginning of the year, we sit together with every single manager and we decide what are the KPIs, the key performance indicator we need to define in order for them to know what I'm expecting from them. Starting from that moment, I start to behave like a coach. I'm not controlling them every day, but I'm just putting some milestone throughout the year, either on a monthly basis if it is an important project, or on a quarterly basis if it is not so important, in order to check how far they go versus the direction. And from that moment, I become the supporter, trying to help them to do as much as possible their activity. Of course, as for any other activities, at the end of the year, we look at the result and we evaluate together if the job has been done properly or not. Well, this is a question you should pose to my boss, that should evaluate my job. Looking at the performance of my years in Ferrari, I would say that there has been something that I brought to the company. And if I should try to highlight what has been the major change that has been that I tried to implement in Ferrari, is that when I joined in 2010, the company was coming from a strong period of growth, a little bit inorganic growth. So a lot of demand, a lot of success that was necessary to try to harmonize and put together. Ferrari is one of the most important and famous global brands in the world. You need to make sure that whoever gets in contact with the brand, wherever it is, in Miami, in New York, in Shanghai, in Milano, have the experience of connecting with the brand in exactly the same way. So what I tried to do was exactly to harmonize, from one side, the activities of the people, and on the other side, the image of our representation, so the hardware and the software, in order to make sure that everybody was able and a knowledge of what was expected from them. And one of the most important achievements was that before, in order to evaluate the performance of whoever was getting in contact with Ferrari, there was a little bit more a personal evaluation that every single person was doing. Today we have a set of numbers and of elements that are helping us to better understand and clarify if someone or something is perfectly performing or not. So bringing some concrete and right element is one of the most important change that I try to implement. Talking about probably the most challenging task for every single manager is not the business, is the people, is managing the people. And throughout the career, if you have the possibility and you are lucky to take different positions in a company, you will face some completely different challenges as far as people are concerned. If you work in some departments with a lot of young, they are self-motivated. They want to grow. They want to learn. So you don't have to push them. You just have to leave them deliver. And it's pretty simple. It's quite engaging. It's quite even emotional because you see people that want to create their career. On the other hand, sometimes it happens that you have people that already gave their maximum. They are happy with their job. They are not investing in developing themselves. So in a way, there is the risk to not having all the support in order to achieve your objective. And this is probably the most important and most difficult task because in a company, especially a well-established company, there is a higher number of people that are in the position since some times, and you have to keep investing on them. From my perspective, what I thought was the most important key to try to motivate them is what I call the individual motivation factor. Each of us has something that is important, whether it is 1 hour for the kids or 1 hour for learning or 1 hour for reading or something connected to the culture. Now, you are a successful manager if you're able to identify a tailored solution for every single person. There is not something that is working for everybody. You need to try to be able to understand the person in front of you, what is his need, and ideally try to find a solution that is good for the company but at the same time good for him. If you're able to do that, the support and the performance that this person will be able to deliver will be outstanding. Again, I think you should ask my boss if my leadership style is good enough for delivering the expectation. Still, if you're asking me, do you consider yourself a good leader? My answer would have been no. But not because I don't believe that I did something or that I did something wrong, but because I strongly believe that the moment you start to be satisfied with what you're doing is the moment you stop improving. In our job in this company, there is something that we always repeat to everybody working here, is that we want people to be unsatisfied, always unsatisfied, which is coming from racing. After a race, even when you win, the engineer, they have a meeting in which they start looking at how to further improve the performance because the competitors are coming, are trying to close the gap. So the moment in which you start considering that you are perfect is the moment in which you stop listening. You stop trying to understand how to further improve and how to make it better. You start to believe that what you do is right. And it's the moment in which you start failing. Well, that's a big challenging request because I don't want to push someone to make mistake. But if I look at my experience, I would say that, yeah, definitively, there are some key words. The first one being curiosity. You need to be curious about what is happening around you. Never think that what you're doing is perfect. There is always something you can learn from the other. The second maybe is the capability to listen, which again is the capability to take inspiration from what arrive and happen around you. And last, but not the last one, but still very important, which I already said, always try to be unsatisfied. Never be satisfied about what you're doing because that's the moment you start learning and improving.